Oh, wow. Okay. I just noticed that I did not hit record a minute ago and I just went through my whole spiel. All right, we're just going to do this again. This is actually take 3. This is how this goes sometimes. It's okay. So, coming at you on this wonderful Tuesday night after a couple days removed from my 67th marathon in Edmonton, Alberta. What a day, what a race, what a town, what a time to run and to just be alive. Okay. If you followed my Instagram past couple days, I have revealed some tidbits that it was not the most comfortable race I've ever run, and had some GI distress. I think it had to do with how I led into the race. I did some things a little bit differently than I usually do, which probably makes sense that it did go wrong because I have not had a rough day at the races since 2003 in the GI department. I'm usually very diligent about that. I usually eat pancakes the night before a race or just sweet potatoes, or recently I've started eating sushi rice, which is like money. But that didn't happen this week. I ended up the first 3 or 4 days, like Monday through Thursday, eating the same, pretty much just vegetables, and some beans, and just like ate like the same thing every day with no extra carbs, like no bread or none of that, because I was going to like kind of overload the carbs on Friday and Saturday, but that didn't really quite pan out how I thought it would, because Friday ended up being sort of a funky pre-travel day that I had to jump through a few hoops because there was this Air Canada strike, and I made a really silly mistake on my booking I had to figure out. And so I ended up going to the airport to try to talk to someone in person because I couldn't get through to anybody online or on their website. Long story short, that was all figured out, but I was a little stressed on Friday. So stress could have played a part in it. Flying could have played a part in it. I haven't flown the day before a race in a very long time, since like 2013. So apparently, being the pressurized cabin can affect gases in our guts somehow. That could have played a part. Could have just been stress. It could have just been the timing of, I don't know. But long and short of it, on Sunday morning at the starting line, I thought I was good to go, and I was not good to go. I knew it was going to be a rough race, and it was. So my plan was to run like a 7:30 pace. Not my best, not my most ambitious, but time, but quicker than I was planning, than I ran Vancouver. So it was certainly like something a little inching closer to how I'd like to run. And I banked some time, the first 10K or so, because I knew I was going to have to work in some porta potty time. But I had a tough time. My fueling was off because I just didn't want to take any fuel in. I was just my stomach was like really tight, and then it was just all sloshy. And it was just so uncomfortable. So I took like 3 gels over the entire race, which I usually take 6. And around mile 14 or so, I had a real. I felt really really bad at that point. And actually stepped off the course, and I had this funny like sleepiness feeling come over me, which has happened a couple times before, and that tends to be an indicator that you do need fuel, that like your energy is really low. And I started honestly getting really like scared at that point. I was like, I don't want to put myself in like a hole here because I was there by myself. It was such a quick trip. I told Marion, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go pop back and forth from Edmonton, and like, so I didn't ask him to come with me. I was there alone, and I didn't want to put myself in a silly situation where I don't know. So for a second there, I was like, maybe I'll just stop. But then I thought, okay, what would I tell my athletes to do? Like, how would I get through this? Because it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 or something at that point, and I didn't have to check out of my hotel until noon. My flight wasn't until like 5 o'clock. I was like, all I have to do today is finish this marathon. Like, that's it. And I have plenty of time to do it. So I just sort of like, I reassessed the rest of my body. My legs were fine. My arms were fine. My feet were fine. I felt okay after I just kind of took a minute, and I just reframed my mindset and was like, all right, well, the 7:30 pace is out the window. So let's just kind of go out there and just get the miles in, run a marathon just for the experience and see what you can do. So I ended up running. I finished it. I held on okay, feeling okay. Um, Pretty much until mile 22, and then the wheels really fell off after that point. But we got through it, and it was definitely more like a marathon and an Ironman experience. For those of you who know what that feels like, which is a totally different experience than like a standalone marathon. So pretty gritty and grimy and not fun and painful, but we got through it. We got through it, and not my best time, not my worst time. I think I finished in 3:39, which the course was a little bit long, which is always annoying, but that's fine. Finished the race, and it was cool to see. It was cool to see Edmonton. It was neat to be like in and around. They had us going 6 miles out to the east, and then we came back downtown, and then we went 6 miles out to the west. So I saw a decent amount of the town, of the city, and it is beautiful. It was kind of fun to think about, like, maybe my grandfather grew up somewhere around here. The work, like the first half of the race, like miles like 4 or 5, we ran through these neighborhoods, and I did kind of feel a bit of a vibe, Maybe some Kellys were there at some point, but I don't know. In any case, it was kind of a bummer experience, I have to say, because it just was painful, honestly, and not in the painful way where you like push yourself and not that kind of painful that you expect, but just the really uncomfortable painful that I just don't know what's going on inside of me, and this hasn't happened in a long time, and then I'm annoyed with myself that I put myself in the situation and made dumb mistakes, but regardless, that's why we do these things, like, called living, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You can have plan the best way you can, and whatever, some things don't work out, but I'm certainly glad I went. I'm certainly glad I did it, and it was neat to be in another part of Canada. um, and I'll talk a little bit more about sort of the when I have a couple more days to really think about it. um, kind of what was going through my mind and some of these feelings while I was running it, because I do think, honestly, like, it's sort of one of my proudest finishes I've ever had, because I was so close to just calling it, and it was good to just kind of stop and reframe my expectations and just what was going on, and just take it from a and still be like, listen, I'm still gonna do this. I'm still gonna finish it. And I think that's important if you can. I've certainly been in a few races now, unfortunately, where I've had to take a DNF because I've broken something or gashed my head. I mean, there's, obviously a medical DNF is a whole different thing. For a second there, I thought maybe this would be that, but it wasn't. I was able to rally, and, I'm happy about that. So they can't all be amazing, but a finish is a finish, and 26.2 is tough any way you slice it. But I'm glad I did it, and now we're back in Vancouver. So come on back on Friday, and I will write a little bit more about the experience. And in the meantime, enjoy your week.